Alright guys, you gave it a valiant effort, but after 11 films, it's totally respectable to throw in the towel. What is up, everybody? Welcome to my review of the Children of the Corn reboot that you probably have never heard of. So this movie has gone through absolute development hell. It was created during the pandemic and then, of course, sat around until now, 2023, before it sees the light of day. It's getting a theatrical run, which I don't understand. We'll get into that. And then I believe it's going to be released on Shudder later on this month. And Children of the Corn is a brand name that most horror fans are familiar with, whether or not you've seen the films or not. And this is the 11th installment in that franchise. It was originally based off of a short story by Stephen King. The first film, I think, came out in 84 or 85, and it's somewhat well regarded, although I maintain that even the first one, which many contend to be the best one, is still pretty dull. And I believe the second film is the only other film aside from this brand new one to actually go to theaters. Ever since then, it's been this endless string of straight-to-video sequels and a couple of different attempts at remaking and rebooting this thing. And all I know about this franchise is that it is one of those horror franchises that everybody dreads going through, covering, talking about. It's like Hellraiser and Wrong Turn and Leprechaun. It's like, woo, good luck with that one. And so I'm currently watching through the movies, most of which will be for the first time. I still am not promising anything. I don't know if I'm gonna have the strength to get through them. I've seen 5 of them now, the first 4 films and this one that I saw in theaters I'm about to tell you about. We still got 6 more that I have to get through, and if I can muster up the strength to do that, next week at some point you will get a ranking of all these movies. I'm not reviewing them all. It's not happening. So look, we'll just get this out of the bag right away. I did not expect this movie to be good. I don't think anybody that walks into this film or clicks play on Shudder is going to expect it to be good because the franchise has done absolutely nothing to instill that confidence in us. And the fact that this film sat around for damn near 3 years, that does not bode very much confidence either, but I wanted to go check it out, again, not only for the review's sake, but because you never know. Sometimes you might get surprised. Sometimes they might do something interesting. Sometimes there might be some cool kills. There might be some entertainment value there. And I didn't have to pay $20 fucking to see it. So starting off with the positives, I'll give credit where credit is due. At least there is a decent attempt at having some creative gore here. It's not executed particularly well. Some of it is CGI. Some of it is cutaways, and you're just kind of seeing the reaction of the person doing it, and then you see the aftermath. And so it's not a movie that's going to appease too many gore hounds. Just the first 4 films that I've seen so far in the franchise from the 80s and 90s are a little bit more violent than this one was, so it's not doing anything particularly new or noteworthy, but I feel like there was at least an attempt here. There was somebody sitting down with a pen and paper trying to come up with some ideas within the Children of the Corn theme of how to kill a few people in some nasty ways. And I will also give credit to the main antagonist, the little girl, Kate Moyer, I believe is how you pronounce her name. She's not given very good stuff to work with, and we'll get into all of that, but I think she does her absolute best. You can tell that she's got some acting ability, and she's doing her best to take on this role and carry this film and bring that sense of dread and bring some of that foreboding nature that we got like from the original film with Isaac and Malachi. She doesn't come anywhere near close to achieving it, but she does her best. And now moving on to the negatives, this is another really bad Children of the Corn film. And I mean really bad. Like, again, I still have not seen more than half of this franchise, so I can't say if it's better than more than half of this franchise, but just in my experience of horror films, it's very low on the rung. Like, it's not unwatchable. I've had a lot of people on my Twitter account so far ask me, is it as bad as Jeepers Creepers Reborn? No, it's nowhere near that insulting. It's not even near as bad as Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, but it's bad because of all of the decisions made are just, it's baffling why that they would do that. Why would they would have certain acting choices, why they would do certain things with the narrative, why they have things that happen in the third act that make absolutely zero logic sense, and just, it's all of those movie making problems that makes this a film where you just go, why? Why does this exist? 11 films later, you guys still can't figure out how to make a Children of the Corn movie. It's just time to admit, we cannot do this. This is not a property that can be made into a film, at least not for 10 or 15 years. Let it die. Let it stay buried. Maybe somebody in a decade or so will have a cool new idea, or at least an idea of how to execute the classic story in a good way, which I don't even think was done in the 80s. But just let it die. Stop. Basically what they try to do with this reboot is be half remake and half prequel. And while on paper that might sound like an intriguing place to go, it absolutely kills the pace of the movie, because what do you go to see a Children of the Corn film for, besides schlock? You go to see a bunch of creepy kids, kill all the adults, and then start to run this town and be this sinister force for some brand new outsider, outlander who comes in and discovers this horrific situation that's been going on in this town, right? That's what the original story is. Well, this one decides that we're going to do that, kind of, but we're going to wait about 45 minutes. And we're going to tell you about this town, and we're going to tell you about how shitty the parents are, and we're going to spend time with these really fucked up sadistic kids doing these weird games where they're really putting their peers in danger, and nobody, even the teenagers, are calling that out for what it is. We're just going to spend 45 minutes, half the film, talking about all of that. Then we'll get to the stuff you came for. And it just adds nothing. It adds absolutely nothing to the experience. You just sit there checking your watch going, okay, when are we going to fuck the adults up? Because there's nothing here. And your protagonist in this film is a teenage girl. I believe her name was Bo. And you have a couple of teenage characters here that are on the side of the children, with siding against the parents and some of the political decisions and agricultural decisions that they are making in the first 45 minutes. But as soon as things turn murderous, all of the teenagers are going, oh fuck, what did we do? This needs to be stopped. And Bo is at the head of all of that. And I don't mean any disrespect to the actress, because, again, she's not given very much help here with the direction or with the writing, but if there's an award for overacting, she got that bitch on lock. There's not a single scene, a single moment, a single line, a single expression from this girl that is not like 9 levels above what it should be. Everything is just, it's just the most over-the-top execution of whatever they were trying to do there, and I could never endear myself to her character. And narratively, there are so many things within the story that are introduced that go absolutely nowhere. Like, Bo and her brother see their mother get into a car with a man who is not their father, and she stops the brother from confronting her, and that's never brought up ever again. And then we get introduced to this whole thing, actually even before that, the little bit of contention between those two characters, to where the sister wants to leave the town, and the brother's a little bit bitter about that because he's going to be left behind. And so the brother eventually sides with all the murderous kids, and the sister Bo is just in shock, like, what are you doing the whole time? You get to the end of the film, and as soon as she starts to turn the tables on the main evil little girl, not to mention all the other little followers and fucking cronies that are there that could easily stop this, as soon as she starts to turn the tables on the little girl, she looks at the little brother who's been a fucking murderous prick the entire movie, and he just gives her a look like I'm on your side again. I'm sorry, is that how it works? There's even this thing that's introduced in the very beginning of the movie. It's what kicks off the film, I guess, to try to bring some kind of sympathetic motivation to the main antagonist and the kids of this town, to where an older kid, like a teenage kid, goes nuts and starts killing a bunch of adults in this school, and in the process of trying to take him out, they accidentally kill a bunch of the orphans inside of the school as like collateral damage. And so I guess that's what their attempt was, to make us be like, oh yeah, you know what? These kids probably should fuck up all these adults. But it just doesn't land. And you never completely understand what this little girl's relationship is with the kid that went off and set these events in motion. And quickly she just turns evil. It's an absolute narrative mess. The writing in this film is atrocious. And so even though I walked into this with a glimmer of hope just because of the director's name, Kurt Wimmer, who is the guy that brought us Equilibrium, a movie that I'm a pretty big fan of, he didn't have a whole lot to work with there either. So I really don't know who in this movie to truly blame or who to look at aside from the writers and whoever funded this thing, because it's just like, guys, you got 10 examples of what not to do and we're still doing the same shit, maybe even worse. What the fuck? Oh, but don't you worry, because we get something new in this one. He who walks behind the rose. Yeah, we actually get to see what he looks like in this movie. I am Groot! Oh my God, that was the moment where I sat up and I was like, oh cool, we finally get to see what he looks like besides yellow fucking static. This might be cool. Oh, bring the static back. And as I hinted at earlier, I mean, there's just gigantic logic gaps at the climax of this film. And look, if you don't want any spoilers for the 11th Children of the Corn film that I probably am the one who even told you it existed 5 minutes ago, then earmuffs. But the way that the third act goes down, it's not too dissimilar from the original film, to where your protagonist tries to burn down the cornfield. And she tries to escape with this car that was established earlier on in the film as having a gas leak. And so you're watching her drive through the cornfield knowing that she's leaving a trail of gas. And she's also covered in gasoline at this point, because the previous scene they were going to burn her, and she convinced them that if you burn me, you're going to end up setting ablaze all of the corn.
Brace yourself.
So she's covered in gas, the trail that she's driven through is covered in gas, and the little girl who is supposed to be our main antagonist, the scary one and the smartest one in the movie, at least as far as the bad guys go, she gets the drop on her inside of the car, and rather than kill her, she grants her a last request, which is to smoke a cigarette with an old school little cigarette lighter. And she even asks, she's like, since when do you smoke? And she gets some bullshit explanation and lets her do it. You just covered her in gasoline 5 minutes ago. Do you not have any inkling of where this might be going? And so that right there was like the absolute last straw. Like, as if I didn't already lose all faith in the writing of this film, that was one where it was just like, okay, you just fucking gave up by the end. You just knew, okay, we gotta have kind of the same ending. That's the only thing that makes sense, is burn the cornfields. How are we gonna get there? Fuck it, this is how. I just don't understand what's so difficult about this concept. It's a fairly simple concept. I mean, it wasn't even a full-on book or a novel or a fully fleshed out story from Stephen King's standpoint. It was a short story. So just expand on that with a little bit more exploration of the villainous characters that we never really got, even in the original film. Cast somebody creepy as fuck for Isaac, like the original film. Cast somebody who can give a really powerful, intimidating performance in Malachi. Modernize it a bit, and don't just have this absolutely cheap TV movie feel to the writing and the direction of the first film. And I think you'd have a fairly solid reboot at Children of the Corn. And that's just me rattling off ideas here off the fucking cuff. And they're nothing revolutionary. And so I don't get it. I don't get why we're still making these films. And again, I still have not seen half of them. So all in all, guys, no surprise whatsoever. This movie is not good at all. I would recommend, if you do want to check it out, if you are a fan of this franchise, or if you know it's a guilty pleasure, whatever, please just check it out on Shudder. I think it comes out on like the 31st or something like that. It's not a movie that merits the theatrical experience whatsoever, and it's certainly not good enough to throw $10, $12 away for. So check it out if you want to. You've been warned. It's no better than anything else in this franchise. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed this, please click over here for all of my 2023 new release reviews so far. And I'm also going to put a video up here from a few years ago where I did my top Stephen King horror adaptations. So check that out if you're a King fan. Like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button, and you can check out my maybe ranking here in a week or so, but we got Scream coming out, so that's going to be coming down the pipe soon as well. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.